Sariba and everyone who's seen this video. My name is Kireina Hikkari Mangundap from International Relations Class 2023, and right now I'm going to explain what I have learned throughout this whole semester from the midterm until now. So first, about the national security. So national security traditionally refers to the protection of the state's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and citizens from external threats. However, in the contemporary world, the definition has broadened to include non-traditional security threats such as economic instability, cyber attacks, climate change, and global pandemics. So, national security is a multidimensional framework. National security involves military defense, economic stability, environmental resilience, and public health preparedness. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, governments prioritized healthcare systems and economic recovery, highlighting the expanded scope of national security. And national security is a mechanism for risk management. National security aims to anticipate, mitigate, and manage risks to a nation's survival and prosperity. For example, like the U.S. Department of Homeland Security strategies to prevent terrorism and enhance disaster resilience. And what national security is not a justification for human rights violations. National security cannot be misused to suppress dissent or target minority groups. For example, like China's surveillance of Uyghur under the guise of the counter-terrorism has been widely criticized as a human rights violation. And national security is not exclusive military. Like while military power remains critical, modern threats such as climate change and cyber attacks necessitate a broader approach. For example, like the 2008 financial crisis destabilized economies globally, demonstrating the non-military dimensions of national security. So next one is grand strategy. So grand strategy, crafting and implementing national security strategy. Grand strategy refers to the long-term coordination of the nation's resources and policies to achieve national security objectives. It integrates diplomatic, informational, military, and economic or DIME instruments of power. So the DIME framework, the first one is diplomacy. It focuses on building alliances, resolving conflicts, and engaging in negotiations to protect national interests. For example, the Iran nuclear deal in 2015 prevented nuclear proliferation through multilateral negotiations. And the second one is information. So here, it involves controlling narratives and encountering misinformation to influence public opinion and international relations. For example, the Russia's disinformation campaigns during the 2016 U.S. elections aimed to undermine democratic institutions. The third one from the DIME framework is military. So military ensures the readiness and modernization of armed forces to defend against external and internal threats. For example, NATO's Article 5, which commits member states to collective defense, exemplifies military alliances in action. And the fourth one is economic power. Economic stability and influence are critical components of grand strategy. For example, like China's Belt and Road Initiative leverages infrastructure investments to expand its geopolitical influence. And maybe I'm going to explain the case study for this grand strategy aspect. During the Cold War, the U.S. used all elements of the DIME framework. So diplomacy, the U.S. formation of NATO to counter Soviet influence and information. There is a propaganda campaigns promoting democracy. And the third one is military. There is nuclear deterrence and arms races. And the last one is economic. The Marshall Plan rebuilt European economies to prevent the spread of communism. So next one is human security and its multidimensional aspects. So human security emphasizes protecting individuals rather than states, addressing both freedom from fear or violence and freedom from want or basic needs. And it intersects with economic, environmental, technological, resource, food, and healthy security. So the key dimensions in here are the first one, economic security, to ensure access to employment and stable income. For example, the European Union's response to the Greek debt crisis in 2010 until 2012 aimed to stabilize the economy and prevent social unrest. The second one is environmental security. So it addresses climate change and resource depletion. For example, the Pacific Island nations like Tuvalu face existential threats from rising sea levels, requiring global climate action. And the third one is technological security. So it protects against cyber attacks and technological exploitation. For example, the WannaCry ransomware attack back in 2017 disrupted critical infrastructure globally, highlighting vulnerabilities in cybersecurity. And the fourth one is resource and energy security. So it ensures access to critical resources like water and energy. For example, like the Russia-Ukraine gas disputes in 2006 and 2009 revealed Europe's dependence on Russian energy supplies, prompting diversification efforts. And the fifth one is food security. So food security ensures consistent access to affordable and nutritious food. For example, like the Horn of Africa famine back in 2011 required international humanitarian aid to address starvation caused by drought and conflict. And the last one is health security. So health security addresses pandemics and healthcare challenges. For example, like the Ebola outbreak back in 2014 and until 2016 in West Africa highlighted the need for robust global health systems. Next one is about law enforcement, homeland security, and national defense. So law enforcement and homeland security ensure internal stability and protect against external and internal threats. And national defense strategies have adapted to modern threats, including cyber attacks and hybrid warfare. And the key components in here, there are one, law enforcement. Law enforcement enhances domestic stability and prevents crime. For example, the USA Patriot Act in 2001 expanded law enforcement powers to counter terrorism to the case of 9/11. And then there's Homeland Security. Homeland Security protects critical infrastructure and manage disaster response. For example, the U.S. response to Hurricane Katrina in 2005 revealed gaps in disaster preparedness and coordination. And the last one is national defense. National defense in here combines conventional and unconventional strategies to encounter modern threats. This, for example, is Russia's hybrid warfare tactics in Ukraine from 2014 until right now, blend military force, cyber attacks, and propaganda. Okay, so the last one in here is cybersecurity and terrorism. So what I learned in here is cybersecurity and terrorism represent critical challenges in our digital age, requiring innovative defense mechanism and international cooperation. So cybersecurity, there is a threats like cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, espionage, and data theft. For example, the SolarWinds cyber attacks in 2020 targeted U.S. government agencies allegedly by Russian hackers, and then there is responses. So the responses of this threats is the development of robust cybersecurity framework and international collaboration. For example, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, enhances cybersecurity and data privacy. Next one is terrorism. So, in terrorism, there is two key points. First one is evolving tactics. in here there is like modern terrorism leverages technologies for recruitment, propaganda, and attacks. For example, like ISIS use social media platforms to recruit and coordinate attacks globally. And then there is counter-terrorism strategies. So in here there is military interventions, intelligence sharing, and community engagement. For example, like the global coalition against ISIS successfully weakened the group's territorial control. Okay, so right now I'm going to share my conclusion. So the conclusion is this concept of national security has evolved significantly from a narrow focus on military strength and territorial defense to a more comprehensive framework that encompasses both traditional and non-traditional threats. And a deeper understanding of dimensions such as grand strategy, human security, law enforcement, homeland security, and emerging challenges of cybersecurity and terrorism, it's crucial for international relations students to analyze global security dynamics and contribute to shaping effective policies. And national security fundamentally revolves around the protection of state sovereignty, territorial integrity, and its citizens. Traditionally, it has been perceived through the lens of military power and defense strategies. And however, modern national security transcends these boundaries to include economic stability, environmental stability, public health, and technological resilience. And also, there is a joint strategy involves the coordinated of the used nations of instrument of powers like diplomacy, information, military, and economic order to achieve long-term security objectives. Effective and grand strategies are adaptive and take into account both internal and external challenges. For instance, like the United States containment strategy during the Cold War, effectively combined by diplomatic alliances, military deterrence, and economic aid programs. For example, like the Marshall Plan to encounter Soviet expansionism. And modern grand strategies must also address transnational threats like cyber warfare and climate change, requiring multilateral cooperation and innovative policymaking. And human security broadens the concept of national security by focusing on individual well-being. This includes economic stability, environmental protection, access to technology, sustainable resource management, food security, and public health. For instance, the 2007 and until 2008 global food crisis highlighted how resource scarcity can destabilize nations, triggering unrest and mass migrations. Similarly, the COVID-19 pandemic underscored the interconnectedness of health security and economic resilience. Addressing these challenges requires integrating human security into national strategies, ensuring that governments prioritize policies that protect people from systemic vulnerabilities. And there is also a law enforcement agencies and homeland security framework form the foundational defenses against both domestic and transnational threats. These institutions are tasked with maintaining public order, preventing criminal activities, and responding to emergencies such as terrorist attacks or natural disasters. And the post-9/11 reforms in the United States exemplify the evolution of Homeland Security, with the establishment of the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, to coordinate responses to terrorism, cyber threats, and natural disasters. However, the militarization of law enforcement and surveillance programs has sparked debates about civil liberties and the ethical boundaries of security measures. And in the digital age, cybersecurity has become a critical component of national security. Cyber attacks can disrupt critical infrastructure, compromise sensitive data, and undermine public trust. And high-profile incidents such as the 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack illustrate far-reaching consequences of cyber threats. Terrorism remains another pressing challenge with groups leveraging technology to recruit, plan, and execute attacks. So combating these threats requires a blend of technological innovation, intelligence sharing, and international cooperation. So in conclusion, national security has expanded from a narrow focus on military strength to a comprehensive framework that includes various dimensions such as grand strategy, human strategy, law enforcement, homeland security, and the challenges posed by cybersecurity and terrorism. Understanding these issues is essential for students of international relations to analyze global security dynamics and contribute to shaping effective policies. Balancing national security with human rights and international cooperation is really crucial for achieving long-term stability and security. And that's all for my explanation for this video. I hope it can gain insights, and thank you so much for watching.